Tonight, we have a mock draft, but it's not just any mock draft. It's this or that on Football Guys College Football Show.
All right, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the College Football Show here at Football Guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment below as we're going through it. We have a fun, jam-packed show. It's our favorite show of the offseason, really. It's something that we like to do, and it's Jeff's creation. I got to give Jeff credit. He is the Wizard of Oz behind the screen. He tells us what we do, and we just listen. But before we get into that, we did have a big rookie guide that we just released on Monday, and it's a giant piece of art that we created for a long time, and it took us a while to kind of produce, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback. So I wanted to show you guys some of that, kind of go through some of the stuff that you could see, and it's free. So I think, hey, biggest thing is it's free. It's on all our social media platforms. We'll probably drop it in the comments today. You can get the link that you can click it, you put your email in, and this is what you see. And so when you're looking at the guide overall, it has 120 players that we've highlighted at the position throughout. You'll see the quarterbacks here and Bijan, and it goes through everything. Going to get a quick scouting report of everything that we have seen. And remember, we've been watching these guys for a long time, and I think that is one area I want to highlight for us is like we do Debbie and we do college football content as well, and we have a pretty good insight on a lot of these guys. And me personally, I've watched Bryce Young play for a long time, so we've seen these scouting reports. We included the recruiting history because recruiting pedigree goes into draft capital a little bit. There's a lot of guys smarter than me that break that down, but you can see that there. Talks about kind of his weight, and as we go and as we get more measurements, as everything gets solidified, they'll be added in there. But if they played in the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, the Collegiate Bowl, whatever the hell bowl is out there, we have those measurements. Like they're in. You can see that. What is coming, we're going to have the relative athletic score. We're going to have the RAS score. We'll have that in there. Once the combine hits, we'll have the numbers. You'll see that. We have ideal fits and even scheme fits, and that'll also improve as we start learning more about where the draft capital probably going to be when they get drafted. That'll definitely be hightail focus on the 3rd or 4th edition, wherever we go to, in terms of what those fits look like, strengths, weaknesses. We pretty much have it all. And it's free. There's no reason for you guys not to go grab that. Grab it and look at it and check it out and see, hey, what are we doing? How do you like it? Give us feedback, and what would you like to see? So, guys, you got anything else for the guide?
Yeah, make sure to check it out. Footballguys.com/rookie guide. And that should be where you can find it, or, just do a Google search of the Football Guys College Football Guide, and you'll find it that way as well. Football Guys Rookie Draft Guide. You'll find it that way as well. Again, we're very, very excited about this product, and we feel very, very comfortable with the evaluations that we put out at this point in time. Please know that things are fluid. We are going to adjust based upon what we know from the combine, because that's an input, and that's an important input. Once you kind of know the athleticism, that factors into draft capital. We're heavy on draft capital. We believe in that. A lot of our evaluations are film-based, but again, we do take that draft capital into account. And ultimately, I think what you're going to see out of this rookie class, especially once you get deeper into even the wide receivers, the running backs, landing spot is going to matter a lot. And so you're going to get another version of this with landing spot. And we're going to change a lot of the information that you're seeing right now based upon those landing spots. And we're going to tell you in this guide how, for every single player, how they stack up on their depth chart on the team that they're on, how the team could use them quickly, who will be the players that could look to have immediate, quick fantasy usage, who might be those players that are a little bit more developmental in nature. And that's the biggest thing with this guide is we've got this out here now. We've got 120 write-ups, and that's going to be one of the biggest ones that you're going to see. And it's free. You can download this right now, and we've got our great scouting reports on all this, and if you have all that information at your fingertips. But please like, subscribe, and join, become Football Guys members so that we can continue to help you through this journey of the rookie process.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is that we're going to continue to update this. And so there will be a couple more iterations of it. They won't all look the same. Obviously, like Jeff is saying, we'll adjust as things come up, but we do feel pretty comfortable with where we're projecting these guys and where, we have them slotted in terms of our rankings. We've done a ton of work on it, and we're very proud of this. And I think that it's going to be valuable to you, especially if you play Dynasty, or maybe if you don't really know if you want to play Dynasty, maybe this is your entry point because you're going to be extra prepared for that first rookie draft. This is a very big project, obviously, but it's not done. And that's the main takeaway here, is that this is version 2.0 is coming next month, I think. I don't know when the combine is at this point. Everything's a blur. But and then we'll have a post-draft iteration of it as well. So very excited about it. Very excited that it's out. Like Jeff said, make sure you hit the link, which we did put up on the screen there for a second, but join.footballguys.com/rookie guide is what it is. So go check it out. All you have to do is put in your email, I think. Right?
Simple. It's easy. Put it in there. And there's other stuff coming in that. Like us three will be working on fun stuff to be put in that. It's valuable, and it'll be single enough valuable for you to get a membership at Football Guys. And with all the other stuff is insane. Like it is the best value in the space, and I can stand by it because we do great work at the company that we're at. So we appreciate you guys there. But check out the guide to go through it. Let us know. Find us on Twitter. You see our ads. If you have questions like, hey, what do you see here? Or if you have some, comments about it, what you like, we are all open, receptive to that kind of thing. So, jump in there. But all right. You guys want to get started? We're having fun. I love this show. This is my favorite show of the offseason, really. I keep saying that, but I am. But Jeff's going to explain it because I don't know how to explain it. But Jeff's going to explain it for us and let us know how we're doing this.
All right, so the way we play this or that is we make our selection in the mock draft, and then I will offer a player. We are going to use Dan Hendry's Dynasty value chart on Football Guys. Dan is fantastic Dynasty analyst and has a great value chart that comes out every month. We're going to use his chart, and we're going to look at the player, the pick that gets used. We're going to combine that and compare that to a veteran player already in the NFL, and we're going to ask the guy that making the pick, would you rather have this veteran that is of that pick value, or would you rather have this rookie? And I think that's the way we play. That's the way we go through, and it gives you a little bit of context. And context is one of our most important things with this show. Being able to provide context with you, being able to slot these rookies in where they should be going in Superflex startups, if they're already in your startup. All these different things. We want to have you very, very comfortable with this rookie class and being able to evaluate it against the players that are currently in the NFL that you're very familiar with already.
Yeah. All right. I got to share my screen. So while I do that, Jeff can fill Jeff.
Again, I thought I was just filling right now, but
well, yeah, but it's what? I don't need that rudeness. All right, Jeff, you get the first pick. Go ahead and make your pick.
So I'm going to select Bijan Robinson. He is our consensus number one player in Superflex and one quarterback formats. And Dan's got him as a value of a 39, the first pick as a 39. And the player that's most comparable to that, we've got CeeDee Lamb with a player value of a 40. So would I rather have Bijan Robinson or CeeDee Lamb? And in my mind, I still like to build through the wide receivers, and CeeDee Lamb is my number 3 wide receiver in Dynasty. I'm still going to go with CeeDee Lamb, what we saw last year, but it's just, again, setting context for you on, similar evaluations here is CeeDee Lamb and Bijan Robinson.
Quickly, before we get to our next pick here, does Bijan's... So we've talked about the Dynasty running back landscape, right? And how Bijan's kind of coming in and resetting that and pretty much immediately being a top 3 Dynasty running back, just no matter what his landing spot is. Does that change it for you, knowing that you have him for 5 years, assuming that we're correct in our first round projection? So 5 years on that rookie deal, super young player, looks like a workhorse. You'd still take CD in that case?
I would.
Okay.
I think it's a good question. That's a fair question. Capital, I think, is a question with Bijan Robinson but it's a kind of a sliding scale, because as much as you want him to be a top 10 pick and have the NFL tell you, hey, this is a top 10 player, as you slide back, you're getting him in better positions too. And so it kind of goes both ways. I think it's a fair question to look at it. I think this comes down to personal preference for me, how I like to build out. And the way that I like to have my roster, I prefer to have that elite wide receiver in there, because I think that I can get baseline production out of running back sliding throughout the year. But, if I'm not somebody that looks at it that way, I completely understand why you would go Bijan and step into that. And the upside is unknown and it's really untapped, and it could be at the very top. And I think all three of us have him as our dynasty running back ones, or if not very, very close.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's team build too. Like me and Jeff kind of have a similar build. I don't know. Christian kind of he's weird. Christian has a weird team build stuff. He does stuff all over the board. It kind of just depends. Where we tend to build. Me and Jeff tend to build through wide receiver.
Yeah. I've kind of leaned into anchor running back, which is why like I lean beyond in that case. But also I get it 100%. And CD is such a valuable asset right now. So.
Oh, yeah. Good thing, because people call him a beta. Remember that? I remember that. I rember people calling CD a beta.
I couldn't imagine calling a starting NFL player a beta, but but I think it is. We do, as much as we project Bijan Robinson to be this elite 3-down back that will get super high draft capital, we're still operating in the unknown right now, and there's still a chance that a team has, if the Chiefs take him and they still love Jerick McKinnon as their satellite back, and as much as getting him on the Chiefs offense, like they still love that pass catching back. I mean, that it's still hanging out there, that potential that could mix things up a little bit.
All right, Christian, 102. Who you got? And we're doing super flex, right? Just
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take CJ Stroud. He's my number 2 player.
All right, so Dan has a 37 value on the number 2 pick, and the player most closely to 37 value is Breece Hall.
Ooh.
Oh, I just made the argument that I would take Breece. So, but with it being a quarterback here in Superflex, I think Stroud. We've talked about Stroud's ceiling, and I do wonder what that actually is. Is he a back end 1, and is that more valuable than a top 5 dynasty run? Probably, on a points per game basis. So I think I'd stick with Stroud over Breece here.
It's close. I think with the injury, I might lean Stroud. I think that's the kicker with that one.
Yeah, the injury's tough, and projecting Stroud, and if we're looking at this realistically, we're looking at this from a startup lens, not so much as a rookie draft lens, because that would force your direction one way or the other if you're bad at quarterback or whatever. But I'm the type that I'm going to go quarterback earlier in Superflex, and it's worth talking about because the quarterback landscape in Dynasty and Superflex is rough. Like once you get past, I think Daniel Jones, I've seen him going in the 4th round some places, and that's a player that we feel good about being the starting quarterback next year. But there's still long-term questions there, and people are taking him in the 4th round as high as I've seen. So.
I've done multiple dynasty mocks because I have, no life. And when this offseason, I've seen it, there is not one running back that gets taken in the 1st round ever. It is not happening. Not Breece, not Bijan, not any of those guys. It is quarterbacks, Chase, and Jefferson. That is it. And then when you flip it around, we just did a combined mock, and Caleb Williams actually went as quarterback 13. Already, and Caleb still have another year in college, and that is the direction of the quarterback situation. So I just think with that positional in a startup, I think CJ is kind of like the pick you kind of have to make if you're in that situation, because they're both going to 2nd round, him and Breece. So Dan hit that right out of the head in the value. So yeah, I agree with there. All right, I got the one at 1.03. I'm going to take Bryce Young.
Yeah. All right, so the player that's comparable with Bryce Young is Kyler Murray.
That's a tough one because I like Kyler Murray right now in as a dynasty kind of a buy. I'm going to stick with Bryce. I'm going to take Bryce. I think it really comes. There's just so much uncertainty right now with what the Arizona Cardinals are going to look like, and I know Bryce, but you guys know I'm a Bryce guy. Like I think Bryce's ceiling could be really good. I think he fits in the offense really well. I think they can build around him. I like Kyler. I know that it's the argument of what has he done, and he has been a top 10 guy in fantasy with the quarterback position. I'm gonna stay with Bryce because that's just who I am, and I can't go away from it.
So I know Bryce is your quarterback 1. Is there a landing spot that's realistic that could move Bryce off that quarterback 1 position in your mind?
No, I don't think so. Not for me. Maybe the Panthers. But I mean, even then, at least they still have DJ, and they're going to build around him, and they do this stuff. Like, I don't necessarily think so.
Okay. That's a really interesting question because I think that Bryce is one of those dudes that he elevates the players around him really well. And so, and if he is a gamer like he was in college, then you're looking at like a pretty high floor type of dude.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, though, I think we talked about Brees's injury. I think Kyler's injury plays a role in that too, just because I think there is a little bit of uncertainty with what Kyler is going to be. I mean, I think it's worth noting that he is a very shifty player, and coming back off a knee injury is not the most ideal situation. So I actually think I agree with you that I would just lean Bryce, but it's really, really close. I'm also not a Kyler fan, so.
You're noted not a Kyler fan, but I
Yeah.
think you do make a good point on what are we going to get. And I think that you almost have to have the mindset that you're just not going to get very much out of Kyler Murray in 2023. And if it does come back, I think you really have to view him as more of that quarterback 2 in your roster build, as opposed to being that potential quarterback 1 with the rushing upside. And we don't know what's going to happen with DeAndre Hopkins as well.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, where you going?
I'm still going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs at the 104. I know I sent you guys a message. It does seem like we're pretty comfortably consensusly putting Jahmyr Gibbs as the running back 2 in this class. And I get it for fantasy upside. I do wonder when it comes down to the NFL draft, is he really going to be viewed as the running back 2 because of the struggles running inside? But again, we know the increased importance in the passing game and his ability to contribute there. It's just kind of one of those things in my mind. I think you have to take him at the 104 right now, independent landing spot, independent draft capital. I just feel like I don't know, maybe we're just shoving him a little bit too high, but Dan's got the 104 pick as a 28 value, and the player comparable to a 28 value is, I'm going to end up finding another wide receiver and be stuck again. Okay, so he's got Chris Olave as a 28 value on Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's a spot I'm still probably gonna go Olave. We've just seen, I'm concerned about where the Saints are going to be in the quarterback position, but there's rumors that they're reaching out for Derek Carr. If they were to get Derek Carr, that would be a player I'd feel comfortable supporting Olave in the fantasy role. But I think we saw enough production from Olave last year that if I could flip the 104 pick for Olave, I'm going to take Olave in that situation.
Yeah. Quickly on your Gibbs point, like, is the NFL going to value him as the RB2? I think at some level that might not matter a whole lot. In terms of, I don't think anyone but Bijan is going in the first round. So I don't think that the difference between pick 49 and pick 57 is really going to be huge. It's kind of similar to what happened with Dameon Pierce, Michael Carter. Michael Carter didn't pan out, but like when they just barely got into the 4th round, how different is that from a late 3rd round? I think we might be doing the same thing in the 2nd round. I also want to just throw out there that there's a lot of buzz that Devin Achane is going to be the RB2 off the board just because of the game-breaking speed, which I actually started to rank him accordingly because I think that may actually happen. I have finally come around on Achane, but maybe not as much as everyone else. But I don't think that him going as the RB2 would then push him above Gibbs and some of these other guys that we're about to get to, in my opinion.
So my hesitation, my concern on Gibbs is I think receiving is so much of his profile and needs to be. And then I look at James Cook in Buffalo, and James Cook was a back that we know the receiving is an important part of his profile. He got drafted by Buffalo, and I think that coming out of that, the thought was that they would use the backs a little bit more in the passing game, and that didn't really materialize. And so like you're kind of not getting everything that you were hoping to get with James Cook. And so that is my one concern on Gibbs, is if he lands in an offense that doesn't use him in that role, I think there's questions on what you ended up getting.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree too, but I think I take Olave all day at the 104. Like I think just because that ceiling with Olave, even the floor, I mean, I think Olave is there. All right, Christian, where you got it? What the 105? Where are you going?
So technically in my rankings, I would take Tank Bigsby here, but I'm tired of talking about running backs and quarterbacks. So I'm going to take Quentin Johnston instead and act like I need a wide receiver for my build.
Quentin
All right,
Johnston.
so the
Look at
105,
you.
Dan's got a pick value of 25 on the 105, and the player comparable to a 25 is Javonte Williams.
Give me That's really tough with Javonte's injury as well. I'm a huge Javonte fan. I would go Javonte over Quentin because I do think that with this wide receiver class, there is a lot of uncertainty across the board. I think Quentin falls into that mix, even though he's our first one off the board here. I think I'd rather take the uncertainty of a guy coming off of an injury where I've seen maybe not the fantasy production, but I've seen the NFL production, and I have more faith in the Sean Payton Broncos. So I would roll with Javonte.
Do you think that evaluation's too high, Jeff, of a Javonte?
Well, so for context, so I just actually did trade for Javonte today, and I traded the 110 in this draft and a 25 second. So that was the package I got for Javonte. So that's giving the 1.5 for Javonte is aggressive in my mind. I think that right now I'm sitting with a pretty clear tier break between the 109 and the 110, and that's where I was kind of more comfortable giving up that 110. Now I think players could shift and move a little bit and either contract that tier or expand that tier. That's kind of where I'm at right now, and that's where I was fine cashing the 110 in for Javonte. I would not be giving the 105 for Javonte, but I also don't have Quentin Johnston in this position either. So,
but I don't think I give up straight 105 before I know the player. Like if I'm looking at it and I say like, I see Quentin there, maybe if I'm not really high on that and I see where it's at, I don't think Javonte's, I don't think he in dynasty spaces, I don't think he's a 105 talent or like in terms of value. Like, I don't think people are giving up that right now because 110 or 111 or 112 is probably where I'd be comfortable with too.
I think he's a great buy right now because I think that people are very, very uncomfortable with him right now. And I think that people are starting to get a little bit of that rookie fever and they're looking at him saying, we're 2 years in, we haven't gotten great production out of him. Can I flip him for a nice first round pick and just not worry about move on? And, everybody's telling me the depth of this running back class. But again, I think when you're in a startup, you're seeing Javonte go that third or that fourth round.
Okay. Question. Pre-draft, where would Javonte fall for you guys within this class?
Javonte as a prospect? Right there with Gibbs, right in the conversation with Gibbs, I think.
He'd be 105 right there.
Yeah. See, and so like, I think I'm still betting on that, just knowing what the situations were over the last couple of years, I guess. But I totally get that.
Don't you think Javonte's going to be even a better buy as we get close to the season when he's not going to be out there probably, and where other guys are they see their roster and they're looking in August like, hey, I need to fill my running back spot with a dude that I can just plug in and have that auxiliary piece. Like, I don't hate your trade, Jeff. Like, I don't but I think he might, but I don't know if the guy will sell him, but he might. Like, I think that he might be a better buy as we get closer to the season.
Well, I think he's a player that you're going to have to watch and see if Mike Boone is the primary backup to Javonte or to Javonte coming out of both free agency and the draft. I feel one way. If they go and take somebody in the fourth round, I feel a way different way. And
I think they're going to draft someone. That's why I say I think that they're going to get somebody to come in there and be like that piece, maybe the like bridge piece in the fourth or fifth round to where they grab someone. Like, imagine if Sean Tucker went there, and any of us are not very high on Sean Tucker, but if he does go there, you're like, oh, well, look at, because I think I guess he could maybe fit that offense. But when you're looking at it now, like, I don't know, interesting discussion. All right, my turn. I'll make a pick real quick. I'll just go JSN. So I'll take Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. So that's at the 106. What's the value there?
Value there is a 24. And so the player comparable to a 24, we have Davante Adams.
Well, that's okay. Well, so this obviously is going to be team build. So we're like in a start. I'm going to take, I'm going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba, and I'll get canceled later. But I just think the age cliff at wide receiver is just too big to think about, because it's almost like you're just as soon as you draft Javonte, it's like driving a car off a car lot after you buy it. Like the value's going down no matter what you do. Even if he has a good year, you're still not going to be able to buy it back for the value that you get. Where JSN still has that built-in value to where you still probably can buy off of him. Even if, like, look at Garrett Wilson. He didn't have a great year, but now people are talking about him being a top 6 guy. And that's kind of generally where I look at both those guys.
I actually had this exact decision in the mock that we're doing, the Football Guys mock that we're doing. I was sitting there looking at JSN or Davante Adams as like the 2 picks, and completely polar opposite directions on there. And especially as you're sitting in a startup. So I ended up with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and it's a startup. But like my build, I've got Burrow, I've got Kyle Pitts, I've got CJ Stroud. So I was leaning younger. And I mean, if anybody knows what I do in startups, I'm going to be leaning younger anyways. But that was a decision that I looked at for a minute there. But again, it's just, in JSN it's so difficult because I think that he's a landing spot dependent player where you put him in the Kansas City or Buffalo, like it's going to be to the moon. Or if he goes to Chicago, people are going to be a lot more nervous there.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add because I agree. I would also go JSN here. So,
all right, Jeff, who you got?
So I've got Jordan Addison as my pick. Jordan Addison is my wide receiver 2 in the class. He's my 106 in the Superflex. And the value assigned to the 107 in Dan's chart is a 22. And so I'm scrolling down here. 22 value is kind of coming up empty right now. DeAndre Swift. Jordan Addison or DeAndre Swift. And I mean, I'm taking Addison in that situation, as somebody that likes to build wide receivers more. But I don't know. I think we're deep enough. It's the DeAndre Swift conversation is a bit like the Javonte Williams conversation. If we didn't really get much from Javonte this upcoming year, I think it's, a year in advance, and we've seen scratches and enough from DeAndre Swift to feel good about him. I think when he's in the lineup, maybe when they're giving him the ball. But again, there's just so many question marks around there. Whereas Addison, I think that there's a real chance Addison's the first wide receiver selected in the draft. And I think that that's going to be put into a position. I think that Devontae Smith that's our comp for the rookie guide for Jordan Addison. And that's mainly a lot of that's body type, but a lot of the play style as well kind of plays into that too. And so seeing Devontae Smith be successful in the NFL kind of eases my concerns on Jordan Addison's size. I think the draft capital is going to end up being there with Addison. And so that's where I would feel a little bit more comfortable, and I would go with Addison over Swift.
I hate it, but I think you're right. Kevin,
I don't think he's right. I don't think he's right. This is Swift, guys. Like I don't understand.
I knew I made a good pick.
To kill, I think it's still Swift at this point. But I also value Swift way higher than everybody else in Dynasty. So you can't, like, my outlier here is I still think he has the potential, I feel like, still to be like a top 3 running back in Dynasty. Like if he just got the Williams touchdowns, he would be. But he's not. I know he's not. So do not come after me and tell me he's not. I get that. Like, don't.
If he just scored 20 touchdowns, he'd be awesome.
Okay, no. If he scored 10, Jeff, all I'm asking for is 10. Like, I'm not even asking for that much. But I think the pass catching there, like, there's plenty of times where he just missed opportunities where Goff either missed them. He's open. They're looking down the field. I still think that offense is one of the best offenses from a fantasy perspective. There, plug in Swift, Addison. Can I find an Addison somewhere else? Maybe. I feel like I could. Like, I mean, again, if he goes first wide receiver, then I gotta eat a little crow, but I don't know. I don't feel like that. I think Addison's more replaceable than Swift, in my opinion.
There's a large conversation that needs to be had about DeAndre Swift, I think.
I'm not ready. I'm not emotionally ready.
I'm not either. I was very, very high on Swift, and I still am. It's just he doesn't have a contract extension. I don't know reasonably why the Lions would extend him based on what we've seen. And so then you're looking at a free agent running back after a year, or a guy that is locked into a situation for 4 to 5 years with Addison. So I get it, Jeff. I also get it, Kevin. I think you're right. I think the upside is there, but I would lean Addison too.
Well, but if you're have Swift in Dynasty right now, aren't you kind of praying that they re-sign Jamal Williams? Because if they get through free agency without signing a significant back, I'm going to be very nervous on holding that Swift, because They've got 2 first-round picks. John Robinson is kind of sitting right there. If there's other moves that, a guy like Tank Bigsby we talked about, or Zach Evans, players like that could be viewed as the future that could step in and really kind of grab that role. And as they transition Swift out, being in that contract year.
Yeah.
You make a good point. I don't like it. I don't know. They can't draft Bijan. They're not drafting Bijan in the first. They're not doing that. Stop it.
I hope they do. Just
I did take the call last year.
Yeah. All right. I'll make a pick here. I want to get wacky again. So I'm going to take Anthony Richardson.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We're at the 108. That's a 20 value in Dan's chart. So Anthony Richardson or Kirk Cousins?
Do I want to throw a dart, or do I want to, I don't know, go bowling? I feel like having Kirk Cousins is like the equivalent of going bowling. I'm sorry if you really enjoy going bowling, but I think it's just kind of a mundane activity. I'll take Anthony Richardson. You know what? I'll just be a little risky. I'll take what I think is a high rushing upside, and I think this kid's going to develop. I do. I have more faith than I probably should that he will get mechanically fixed. And then instead of looking at a back end QB1 for 2 years, I might have a top 5 quarterback for 10 years.
I think I love this area of the draft for Anthony Richardson. Looking at these teams that are going to be picking back here, you're losing an Aaron Rodgers, or maybe you've lost Tom Brady. You were probably a pretty good team being in this draft position. So Richardson kind of slots in there if you don't have 2 elite options as the ultimate wild card and the upside that is there to be a quarterback 1. What pick valuation, what draft capital, if he's a top 10 pick, like where are you moving him up? Are you kind of keeping him in this range? Does that change the conversation a little bit?
I mean, I would keep him in this range because I think that the risk is built in with him, but I don't think Dynasty will keep him in this range. I think he'll go top 5.
I agree. I think he'll be top 4 reasonably. I think you'll see him Stroud, Young, Richardson in some order, and I think that some crazy Dynasty people will take Richardson as QB1. And actually, I say crazy people, I don't actually think that that's that crazy with that rushing upside that he does possess. So,
and I think that's the conversation on him that I don't know it's being had right now. And if it's, I think people are definitely scared off because of the Malik Willis thing. But if he's the reverse Malik Willis and he gets that capital, I mean, that's going to be the conversation that's going to start to happen on his upside when it comes to being a productive fantasy quarterback.
Yeah. I can't believe as a Midwestern, you took a shot at bowling. I feel like that's all you guys do over there is bowl, like in Ohio. Like, isn't that like your thing or no?
It's not an Ohio thing. No? I'd rather play cornhole or bags in some areas of the country, but it's cornhole.
I don't know what the hell bags is. You Midwestern Chicago people calling it bags.
I know.
All right. Boogie. Whose pick is it? Is it my pick now?
It's your pick.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awkward. This is where it gets kind of, I'm not taking that dude. So let's look here. I'm going to take Charbonnet. So I'm going to take Zach Charbonnet here, UCLA running back, just because I do think that he's going to get day 2 capital and he can find a fun landing spot.
Okay, so the 109 pick in Dan's chart is a 19 value, and Dan has DJ Moore as a 19 value. So are you taking Zach Charbonnet or are you taking DJ Moore?
I'm going to take DJ Moore and watch him break my heart for another season. Even though I'm not like a big DJ Moore guy, I've never been a really big fan of his or kind of there, but I do think that he offers more upside at that position than Charbonnet, where Charbonnet could be a guy, maybe he has the volume and you're like, hey, he's good. He's a workhorse guy. But he's a perennial running back 2-ish 3, where DJ has shown if he has some quarterback play and maybe they draft a guy, have a competent, they got Reich in there. They have these guys, like he could be a wide receiver 1. Like he could finish as a low end wide receiver 1, I think, in those scenarios. So give me that, because I think he'll have more value going forward as well.
Okay.
I agree. DJ Moore, easy there, I think. All right, Jeff, you're up.
So this is where I don't know. You have to weigh some things here because I'm going to stick with my board. I'm going to take Zach Evans. I have Zach Evans at the 109 spot in my board. Will Levis at the 110. That would be the player that I'd be weighing him against. You're really in that range where you're going to have to make that decision. And that's kind of a conversation for when we'll select Will Levis. But Zach Evans, I just still believe in the talent. I believe that I think that there were enough. I'm not concerned with character things when it comes to Quinshon Judkins. I think Quinshon Judkins is just very good, and Zach Evans was hurt. And Lane Kiffin just went with the freshman that was immediately good and said, this guy's going to be my future. It was where losing games toward the end of the season, I'm just going to ride him. And I think that that's a lot of the situation that happened there. But this pick value is 18 pick value in Dan's chart is Tony Pollard. So am I taking Tony Pollard or am I taking Zach Evans?
The report came through today that the Cowboys are planning to tag him officially. So.
And then restructure Ezekiel Elliott. So I do think that, I guess that would be a conversation in this pick value where if I feel like I'm a contender and I'm pushing in right now, Tony Pollard is the type of player that I would like to have on my roster. If I'm a little bit more of a rebuild situation, then Zach Evans is the pick there. And I think that that's really a lot of what it comes down to.
Yeah. Kevin, give your thoughts on the Cowboys running back.
I don't want to talk about Jerry Jones. I hate you, Jerry Jones. Like I'm so over the Cowboys. Like I think tagging Pollard's a move. 10 million, that's easy. Okay, fine. I get Zeke off the roster, man. Like just don't restructure, get rid of him, and then draft one of these other guys in the 5th round. But as far as this pick goes, yeah, I mean Jeff kind of did a cop out. He's not allowed to do that. Like he's not in there. But I think if Evans gets day 2 capital, it's Evans. In my opinion, it's Evans. Like that's how I would feel. But if he doesn't, if he's in that 4th round, which he's getting mocked a little bit right now, then yeah, I think it would be Pollard.
Yeah, that one's tough. I agree with both of you. I don't know that Zach Evans sneaks into the 3rd, just based on what we're hearing. I've also said on this show that he's a guy I'm interested in, even if he goes in the 4th in this range still. I'm not going to move him because of the draft capital discrepancy personally, but I tend to not overreact to that as much as the Dynasty community as a whole, I guess. So, okay. This is my pick. I have to go Tank Bigsby. I would have taken him at 105. I just really like Tank Bigsby. I think that this is a conversation. I think once we get through the combine and Tank Bigsby is actually a better athlete than people think, I think the conversation is going to swirl back around and Tank Bigsby is going to be valued somewhere in here because I do think that he will be a day 2 pick just based on what we've seen from the burst, the lateral agility, a lot of the things. Go read the rookie guide. I wrote that one up. But Jeff, hit me with this player, please.
So this pick value is a 17 in Dan's chart, and the player that's a 17 value, J.K. Dobbins or Tank Bigsby?
Dobbins. Easily. I'm still very comfortable with J.K. Dobbins. I know a lot of people aren't, but to see what he did towards the end of the season, while still very clearly kind of laboring out there, and with a new offensive coordinator coming in, I think that offense is going to be a little bit better. I do have faith that the Ravens will stick with Dobbins, so I will go Dobbins.
I'm all about the Dobbins train. I would take Dobbins. I think Dobbins is a very good buy too because he's a year out from that injury. So, and I still think people aren't valuing him in the way they should. I just worry that the Ravens are going to draft running back for some reason. Like there's just a little thing in my mind where they're going to maybe go after these guys in this draft, especially where it's at. But we won't know anything until Lamar. Whatever the hell is going to happen with Lamar, we don't really know necessarily. But no, I'd be on the Dobbins train. Late first, give me Dobbins.
Okay, it's your pick, Kevin.
Oh, you guys left me. You sons of freaking. All right, I'll take Will Levis. So I'll take Will Levis, Kentucky quarterback. You have to if he's going to go in the 1st round. So this is just assuming that he's going to go 1st round, top 15. Then I'm going to take Levis at the 112 in Superflex. I don't love it, to be honest with you, but it is what it is. So what do you got, Jeff? Or Christian, if you have something to say about Levis.
Would you rather have Will Levis or Russell Wilson?
Well, am I contractually obligated to say Russell Wilson since our boss is like his new guy is Russell Wilson? So Joe, Russell Wilson, Joe, I'm going to take Russell Wilson. I think I'll take Russell Wilson in that context because I think with Sean Payton, and if he does bounce back, I know he's been banged up. We saw the injuries. I saw, you saw kind of what people were talking about with him. With Levis, I'm not really, I think if I'm a contender, if I'm picking here this late, I want Russell Wilson. I need to maybe I had Brady. Maybe I had one of these quarterbacks that is off there. I'll take Russell Wilson at that spot.
I mean, that's kind of the conversation here with the 112. If you rode Brady to a championship, we know Brady had a big season or big game at the end of the season. If you rode Brady to a championship and you just lost him off of a contender, would you trade the 112 for Russell Wilson right now?
Yes, I would.
Yes.
In a heartbeat. Because what else are you going to do with that pick? Like, what does that pick become? If that pick becomes Levis, you're not winning the league next year. Like, you're probably not especially if you don't have the depth there. If you take one of these other guys, so just looking at, I don't know who's on the board left, but when you look at the board, none of those guys right there in that list are going to Mayer, Boutte, Jones, Tucker. Like, none of those guys are going to be there. You need a quarterback, and Russell seems like it's a risk, but who else? Are there any other quarterbacks you would trade for? Like, just thinking like at that spot, like if you look at Dan's chart, I don't know if he has any other quarterbacks around that area.
He's got Geno Smith there. He's got Mac Jones there. Aaron Rodgers is in that range.
He's in the dark right now.
Yeah,
he's really in the dark.
Rodgers is really in the dark. But like, I think at that 112, I think Wilson is kind of the guy, right? Like, I feel like that's the appropriate value. I think Dan hit that one out of the park. I think I'd take Russell Wilson.
I agree.
You want to rapid fire this second round here, see what we can do?
Sure.
So I've got Josh Downs on mine here as my next kind of guy up, and he's this pick, the 201 in Dan's chart, is a 15 value, and the comparison would be Dan doesn't have any 15s. What's going on here?
Got 14s. 13s?
Mike Williams as a 14. So Josh Downs or Mike Williams. And I'm going to take Downs over Mike Williams. I think just I don't know. I think that Downs is going to be I'm still a believer that he's going to be a first round pick. And I think that he's going to be in that range in a first round pick where you're really excited for him to be a first round pick in an elite team there. And that's kind of the dice roll that I would make right now. But it's a interesting conversation at that range, I think. But context, if you have the 201, you're probably a bad team. And so Josh Downs is kind of the no-brainer choice.
You're just trying to manifest him to the Bills, aren't you? You want offensive line. Okay, let me pick here. Tyjae Spears. Let's get him off the board. He belongs earlier. So he might not even be in sleeper.
He is, but he's down pretty far. Hold on. Here, I'm just going to look for him.
All right, so that is a 14 pick value, and we've got
Mike Williams. No, I'm just kidding.
Alvin Kamara or Tyjae Spears.
I like that.
Oh, man, he's really getting close to that age threshold, but I think, and he really just didn't have a good season. It depends on the build, but if I'm a bad team here, I would rather invest in Tyjae. If I'm a good team that just acquired this, I'd take Kamara. That's a cop out. I don't care. Sorry.
You boys. Okay, so what I say, hey, isn't Kamara a buy though? I'm on the Kamara train buy. Like,
he's gonna get suspended.
Okay, I don't care. Whatever.
And
like, if he's,
I think
what the offense look like.
I think when he gets suspended, though, that's when he's the buy.
Yes.
Because I think people panic.
That's when he's the buy.
Yeah, but he's still. I mean, even if you don't want to wait, I still think people think like Jeff, he's going to get suspended. But what if he doesn't? Like, what if he doesn't get suspended? We don't know what's going on with that whole thing, do we? For sure.
You really? I'm not seeing the suspension around his name very often. I feel like people were very concerned about it last year, but it doesn't seem to be on the radar right now, at least from what I'm seeing out there. Drew Davenport with Football Guys does a great job of legal breakdown. He was all over it last summer. He said Kamara's not getting suspended for this year. His case is going to be after the season, and the way the league proceeds is they wait for the case to go through, and then that's when the suspension comes. And Drew was all over it that he would not be suspended when many people thought he would be suspended. Now that case is going to be heard. And that's when I think the suspension is going to come. And even if the suspension doesn't come, that once that case gets talked about, and it will be talked about, and it's going to be happening, that's when he's the buy.
Yeah.
Okay. But even then, like, let's say he does get 6, but then they appeal, it goes to 4. I'm okay taking Kamara 4-game suspension on my roster and having him as my running back, whatever. And then when he comes back, I'm there and I'm buying. Like, that's, or before that, obviously.
I think you comfortably. I changed my answer. I'll take Kamara over the 202. Easy, comfortably.
I think so.
Yeah.
I love Kamara's getting 9th round draft capital right now, boys, in startups. So he's going to the 9th round right now. That is, if you're looking for a perfect 0 running back build with him being maybe your second guy, like maybe you go anchor, you grab a good guy in the first or second or third, and then you just wait on Kamara or those guys. Like, so I had this question. I got laughed by, all the stats guys. Jeff, who would you rather have, Aaron Jones or Kamara as your running back 2 on like a Dynasty roster?
Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
Would you still?
Actually.
Yeah.
Even with Dylan, even with that offense, why didn't come back?
Kamara's not been good for 2 years. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, okay.
It's been 2 years since
he's been
good.
He's been okay.
He's been a middling running back 2, a high end running back 2 for the last 2 years. And I think that they need to add a real complement. The way that their offense works, they need to add a very real complement. And that's the other factor with Kamara, is that if they go out there and add Tank Bigsby to that backfield, then what's the conversation about with Kamara in Dynasty?
But what's the draft capital look like? Like, what is their, like, when you look at the draft picks, do they have that capital to go up and get one of those guys?
They got any more coaches to trade?
I'm sure they've got
I guess, no, they got 2nd, 3rd, and 4th picks. Like, I get it. I'm on the Kamara train. I guess we'll see who's right on that one. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what's going on there.
It's your pick, Kevin. Rapid fire.
We're not going to have enough time. Let's just get through this last pick. Let's just do this last pick, and then we'll be good there. I'll take... No, hell no. That's not what we do here. I'm gonna take Kayshawn. I'll take Kayshawn here I'm okay with that. Obviously, it says 210 on the board. Don't I accidentally screwed up the snake and linear thing. So 203, Kayshawn. Who's there, Jeff?
Deontay Johnson.
Ooh.
Oh, my boy Deontay. Give me Kayshawn. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I like Deontay though. Like, I think that's a fair trade either side. But if Kayshawn gets in that, if he gets drafted by round 2, yeah, I'm all aboard. But if he, like, that's going to be one of those things where if he goes later, some of Moxie's going to the 4th round, then yeah, give me Deontay, obviously.
You want to hear a bold prediction I have?
Oh,
sure.
This is the time. This is the time. So I think there's a real chance. We had a discussion privately about Jordan Addison being a Steeler. I think there's a real chance that Deontay Johnson forces his way out of Pittsburgh, and the deal is pretty affordable that a lot of teams are going to be able to take on that contract. Deontay Johnson is a Buffalo Bill before training camp, and Jordan Addison is a Steeler, and so they kind of just they swap. The Bills don't have to invest a 1st-round pick. I actually don't know if Deontay would command a 1st-round pick at this point. He was pretty bad last year. But that's my bold prediction. Deontay Johnson is not a Pittsburgh Steeler next year.
I think your mind's at the exact right place, and I think that that's where the eye line needs to be. Where the eye line is not right now. And I know T. Higgins, finally the conversation came around last week. T. Higgins, I feel like in DMs and things like that, it had been talked about for a month, but then the timeline finally needed to hear that, and it went crazy for a day. But that's where your mind is there, because there's not any certain things when it comes to wide receivers in this draft, and we've seen other drafts the last couple of years where wide receivers have slid back because they're not certain things. And I think that players like Deontay Johnson, if you're the Steelers, you have to have a real conversation and look at where your team is right now and say, hey, it's time to get out on some of these things. And I think that looking around for players like Deontay Johnson, because of free agency's crop is nothing. And so players like that I think could move is going to be an interesting trigger part. And so if you got a talented player like Deontay Johnson, talented player like DJ Moore, where you're like, I hate the situation, I love the talent though, those are the guys to buy right now.
Good advice. Yeah.
That's why he's our dynasty lead.
This is true. All right. Do we want to just make picks and not talk about the value for the last? I feel uncomfortable picking 15 picks.
I feel fine doing it.
All right.
I'm okay. Yeah,
I'm the only one. All right. Vetoed. Sounds good.
But next week, we will have a mock, and
Yeah.
not on our showtime, but Thursday night we will be having a special mock, and so make sure to check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what they
All right.
call.
But I like that. That's a good thing to do, though. And so if you're watching, we appreciate you guys. We see a lot of you guys watching right now, and I thank you for that. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment. But that's good, like practice to do to understand where the values are going. And Dan really hit those values out of the park there. So appreciate you, Dan. In terms of if you're not following, definitely go do that. With all right, who would you rather have there, especially if you're rebuilding, especially where you're at? Like you need to know where these values are. That's why you use the guide. That's why you use this. Just to give you an advantage, because a lot of your league mates have checked out. They're not, a lot of those guys have not. They'll get back after the Super Bowl, but go get it now. Like go get in there and get that, extract that value. And I think that there's value to be had with those guys there. So we are going to go to our game section now. We got one game to pick, so we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, obviously, and we'll get into that sportsbook rundown here. So Christian, take it away.
Yeah, so I made a comeback last week. You guys went 0-3, both of you in the sportsbook rundown, and I went 2-1. So I'm feeling pretty good. Still in third place overall because, once again, was atrocious up until last week. So
what did we pick last week? I don't
Well, that
remember.
last week didn't count for the standings right now. The standings that are running right now are for the NFL playoffs. Last week was
Sure.
a nothing week, and so we picked like the Pro Bowl dodgeball game.
Oh,
and
that's
we
right.
picked the
Yeah.
Senior Bowl. So that's why you won, Christian, because you didn't pick
Exactly.
anything that mattered. So
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Well, I need those weeks. We have those in the college football season too, the nothing weeks, and I really capitalize on that. But this week we're literally picking one game. It's the Chiefs versus the Eagles. If you didn't know, the Super Bowl is this Sunday, and so we're gonna pick it. The Eagles are 1.5 point favorites still. The line really hasn't moved. It kind of just was set at 1.5, and it stayed there. So Kevin, who is your pick for the Super Bowl?
There is no chance the Eagles lose this game.
That's a nice jinx. I like that. Okay, Jeff.
Sunday, like 2 Sundays ago on Championship Sunday, I was all over the Eagles in this game. I think the Chiefs are gonna win, and so that's I just Mahomes, the Andy Reid factor. I think that the differences in the talent of the rosters is not as dramatic as it's made out to be. And I think Patrick Mahomes, with an extra couple weeks to rest up that ankle, is going to be enough to overcome it. So I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yeah, I've had this like weird feeling. I have some bets on the Eagles, and I'm normally wrong, but I'm gonna stick with it. You know, I'm gonna go with the Eagles and just hope that I'm right. I kind of do think the Chiefs are going to win this game, though. They have Mahomes. I think that's the difference. So, and that'll do it for the Sportsbook Rundown.
Yeah, not a big again. Eagles fans, congratulations. Congrats. You guys are the best fans in the world. All right, let's go over to Prospect Poker. We're going to be playing poker on the screen. While we do that, we're going to be talking about over-unders from this game that you could be betting on. So, Christian, where do you got with your over?
My over is Jalen Hurts over 238.5 passing yards. I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. He is going to have to throw the ball quite a bit, and so I think he's going to hit that over fairly comfortably.
All right, so we've got a 6 of hearts, we have a 3 of hearts, and we have a 7 of spades showing. And Christian has a 6 of clubs. And so that's good because Christian has 2 6s. My choice is going to be Travis Kelce over 77.5 receiving yards. I think that the Eagles corners are going to do a good job matching up against the wide receivers. I think that they're going to have to flow the offense through Kelce. I like that number, 77.5. Feels very, very obtainable. So I will go over 77.5 receiving yards for Travis Kelce. And I have a 4 of hearts.
Oh, look at that little straight draw. Yeah, for me, I got Jerick McKinnon over 22.5 receiving yards. So I'll take McKinnon. You've seen the targets and you've seen those type of things that he's done. I think if the receivers are banged up a little bit, maybe they use McKinnon a little bit more in that receiving game. One big play can get you that. So give me Jerick over 22.5 receiving yards.
A 5 of spades.
Ooh.
So, 2 little straight draws showing right now.
Yeah. All right. My under is Marquez Valdez-Scantling under 2.5 receptions. Just feels like one of those games that he gets a long one, but maybe that's what he's held to. So I'm going to roll with the under.
Ooh, 3 6s. Right. 6 of spades for Christian. So I've got the under hitting Marquez Valdes-Scantling again, under 35.5 receiving yards. Again, kind of the thought process with that will lead Kelsey to having a big game, will lead Marquez Valdes-Scantling to not having a big game. And I think the Eagles have solid cornerbacks and are going to hold him under there. So an 8 of spades.
Ooh.
So got nothing.
That was close. I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes under half an interception. I don't think he's going to throw an interception this game. I think if they win, he's going to have to keep hold the ball. Can't turn over the ball against this defense. He's going to have to be smart. Obviously, this comes into play a little bit with like halftime Hail Marys type things. But I think under half interception is where I'm going to lean.
All right. Pair of 5s. Christian's 3 6s beats Kevin's pair of 5s. So Christian wins this game. Christian won the first game. So Christian has taken the show. But we can still play a little bit of blackjack and trivia if anybody remembered to do a question.
I got some.
All right.
Yeah,
I came
I've got one.
Show.
I have a question.
I've got one cheat question in case we.
So Christian has a 16 showing. Kevin has a 20 showing, and I have a 6 showing. So does anybody have a question for the guy that got a 6?
Yeah, I can go. I got you on. Jeff, what team has played in this 4 Super Bowls but has never held a lead?
The Buffalo Bills.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. Why would I do that to you? The Minnesota Vikings.
Okay. Sorry, Scott.
That's
All
pretty
right.
bad. They never held a lead and played in 4 Super Bowls. Like
I got an 8, so I didn't bust. So if you've got another question,
I've got one for you. Can you name 2 of the 4 teams that have never appeared in a Super Bowl?
2 of the 4 teams that have never appeared in the Super Bowl: the Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep. Name the next 2.
Texans.
Yep.
And then the
You like their basketball team?
the Lions.
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm
got
a Sonic fan, but they don't exist, and I know that the Seahawks have been to the Super Bowl. But yeah, I busted. All right, Christian, I got a question for you.
Great.
Who threw the Philly special touchdown pass?
Oh no. I should know that. Oh my gosh. I don't know that though. I don't even have a good guess.
Trey Burton threw it.
Trey Burton. Oh, Chicago Bears legend.
Yeah. You busted. That means Kevin won, but Christian won the show.
Hey, I have a question real quick. How much because I wanted to do this because I just wanted to. Well, how much do you guys think the first Super Bowl ticket cost?
The
$17.
Number one, first one.
$6.42.
$12. You could go to the Super Bowl one for $12. You know what is the average ticket price right now? Do you guys know what the average ticket price right now is?
$3,000.
$4,500.
Yeah, it's like $4,700 right now. And that's like nosebleed, like standing room. Like if you want an okay seat, it's like $12,000. That's ridiculous, y'all. Like that's crazy.
That's crazy.
All right, Christian, you're up. You get the.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I haven't won the show in months, and so I don't have too much prepared. It's been a rough go, but I do want to say we're very grateful for everyone that has downloaded the rookie draft guide already. But like we said at the top of the show, this is something that we're very excited for. We think it's going to bring you a ton of value. We think it's going to help you win your leagues, which is our primary goal when we talk about the rookie stuff. This is our season to get you prepared for your dynasty drafts, talk about some of these guys. Some of these guys are going to be important in redraft leagues as well. So if you're watching just as a college football fan that does play fantasy, we will hit on some of those guys as well. But very grateful for the support and for everyone that has downloaded that guide. More to come. Thank you, Joe, for the opportunity, and thank you guys for being so awesome. And really thanks the whole Football Guys team that's been able to put this together, because it's been awesome and we're excited.
And we are just getting started, in the words of our founder. All right, next week we're back, February 15th, 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, I'm Kevin Coleman.
I'm Jeff Bell.
And I'm Christian Williams, and you just watched the Football Guys College Football Show.